Hello, everyone. My name is Sarafi, and I'm happy to meet you all. And today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about Malefics. Malefics are a group of dark dragon monsters with high attack points, high levels, and that can special summon themselves from the hand. The benefit of this deck is that you are able to go extremely wide while also going very tall, which is not something that's very common in Yu-Gi-Oh! And usually requires a lot of extra resources. Being able to summon multiple monsters that have 4,000 attack points on the same turn does put your opponent in a very significant bind. They are required to use every resource they have available to stop each one of your monsters because any one of them that connects with their life points will kill them in one hit. And only the most powerful control decks can deal with 3 different monsters that have 4,000 attack points in the same turn. So you will usually just overwhelm your opponent with raw power, which is exactly what I like. The skill is called Territory of Malice. Return 1 Malefic card from your hand to your deck to add 1 Malefic territory to your hand from outside your deck. Then you can add 1 Malefic world to the bottom of your deck from outside your deck. This skill can only be used if you begin the duel with a deck excluding an extra deck that contains no monsters other than Malefic monsters and Dragon monsters. This skill can only be used once per duel. So, Malefic territory lets us activate Malefic world from our deck, which is fantastic. And then while that Malefic world is activated, neither player can target cards in either field zone with card effects. So it not only does it give you the free Malefic world from your deck, it also protects that Malefic world from being destroyed by cards like Cosmic Cyclone or Mystical Space Typhoon. This is necessary for the skill to function because all of our monsters require a field spell to be on the field, so we definitely want to use this skill every single game unless we open our 1 copy of Malefic territory. For our main deck, we have Malefic Cyber End Dragon. It has 4,000 attack points, and it requires you to banish Cyber End Dragon from your extra deck to special summon itself. We have Malefic Paradigm Dragon, which requires you to banish Malefic monster from your extra deck, which will be your Malefic Paradox Dragon. And if Malefic World is not on the field, this card is destroyed. And once per turn, you can send 1 Malefic card from your deck to the graveyard to return 1 of your banished level 8 Synchro monsters to the extra deck. Then you can special summon that monster from the extra deck. Also, you can only attack with Malefic monsters for the rest of the turn. This is extremely good. We'll get into the combo in a minute. Malefic Stardust Dragon. Banish Stardust Dragon from your extra deck, and while this card is on the field, face-up field spells cannot be destroyed by effects. Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon. Banish Red Eyes from your deck to special summon it. It's level 7, which is what we care about. And now, the star of our deck, Malefic Paradox Gear. This is a level 1, 0 attack, 0 defense machine monster. If there is a face-up field spell on the field, you can tribute this card, special summon 1 Malefic Parallel Gear from your deck, then add 1 Malefic monster from your deck to your hand, except Malefic Paradox Gear. If a Malefic monster would banish a monster to special summon itself with its own effect, you can banish this card you control or in your graveyard instead. That is extremely good. It allows us to play our Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon and our Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragon without running Red Eyes Black Dragon or Blue Eyes White Dragon. Very, very powerful. We have Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragon. This card is in the deck because it's level 8. We have our Malefic Truth Dragon. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by its own effect and cannot be special summoned by other ways. If a Malefic monster you control except Malefic Truth Dragon is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can pay half your life points to special summon this card from your hand or your graveyard. And if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls. This has 5,000 attack points and 5,000 defense points. Also, I don't typically say this, but Paradox's line for summoning this card is really, really awesome. He's like, "Clear the way for the almighty Malefic Truth Dragon." So, if you're a lore fanatic like I am, this card is great. Alright, Malefic Paradox Gear special summons our Malefic Parallel Gear. What does Malefic Parallel Gear do? It is a level 2 tuner monster, and when it is used as synchro material, the other synchro monster is 1 Malefic monster in your hand. So, you get to special summon Malefic Parallel Gear from your deck, and then you get to draw a Malefic monster, which will be your Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon if you want to make a Synchro 9, or your Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragon if you want to make a Synchro 10. Fantastic. This puts 2 Malefic cards in your graveyard, which is relevant for this card. Malefic Selector. Banish 2 Malefic cards in your graveyard. Add 2 Malefic cards from your deck to your hand, except Malefic Selector, with different names from each other and from the banished cards, once per turn. Now you might be thinking, wow, that's a pot of greed, except I get to choose both of the cards that I draw, and I can run 3 of it. Yes, that's correct. This is also why we don't run Allure of Darkness, by the way. Malefic Territory is in the deck. The reason why we run Malefic Territory and Malefic World is because these cards are not really bricks. It's difficult for me to explain, but essentially you're never going to draw these cards except turn 1. And if you draw Malefic World on turn 1, you can just use the skill to put Malefic World back to add the Malefic Territory. If you have Malefic Territory in your opening hand, this is beneficial because you can activate the Malefic Territory, and then if your opponent has a Mystical Space Typhoon or a Cosmic Cyclone, you can then still activate the skill and get your second copy of Malefic Territory. You are allowed to activate multiple Malefic Territories in the same turn. There's no once per turn on it. So it's just a failsafe. Lastly, we are running 3 Compulsory Evacuation Devices. Just a good card. Alright, so what is this field spell? Malefic World. During your draw phase, instead of conducting your normal draw, you can reveal 3 Malefic cards from your deck. Then your opponent randomly adds one of them to your hand, and you shuffle the rest back into your deck. This is what I mean when I say that the other cards can't be bricks, because we literally get to choose which cards we draw every turn. Really, really strong effect. You will almost always go for the Malefic Paradox Gear first, unless you opened it, and then the Malefic Selector second, so that you can just keep extending. It's great. For the extra deck, we have Cyber End Dragon and Stardust Dragon, which we don't summon normally. They just get banished so that we can pay cost. We have Vermilion Dragon Mech, which is a Synchro 9 that allows us to blow up a card on the field and then attack directly for 2,700. Pretty good. We have Malefic Paradox Dragon, which requires Malefic Parallel Gear and a non-tuner Malefic monster. It is a Synchro 10, and when this card is Synchro Summoned, you can select a Synchro monster in either player's graveyard and special summon it. There can only be one face-up Malefic Paradox Dragon on the field, and if Malefic World is not face-up on the field, destroy this card. So this says 4,000 attack points, 4,000 defense points. You can make this with Parallel Gear and Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's really strong, and you also get to revive your Vermilion Dragon Mech or your Ravenous Croco Dragon Archithus if those cards are in your graveyard. So just a really good card all around. You'll see it in the replays. Speaking of Ravenous Croco Dragon Archithus, this requires a tuner and a one or more non-tuner monsters. It gains 500 attack for each card in your hand, and if it's Synchro Summoned, you draw a card, and you discard 2 cards to target 1 card on the field and destroy it. So this is an easy way to just put Red Eyes and Paradox Gear in your graveyard, and then try and draw your Malefic Selector. You get to draw 1 card with Ravenous Croco Dragon Archithus. You're running 3 Malefic Selectors, and you've already drawn 4 or 5 cards from your deck by thinning with Parallel Gear and Red Eyes Black Dragon off of your Paradox Gear. So it's actually pretty common for you to draw Malefic Selector off of Archithus, which allows you to just set up a really strong early game board. Then we have 2 rank 8s. Dingirsu, Orchestra of the Evening Star, and number 68, Sanafon the Sky Prison. Just like in my Galaxy Eyes video, these 2 cards are really good on turn 1. Which one you summon depends on who you're fighting. Okay, so the combo. Activate the skill. Normal summon Malefic Paradox Gear. Activate Malefic Paradox Gear's effect to draw Malefic Parallel Gear and Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon. Synchro both of these together to make Ravenous Croco Dragon Archithus and draw 1 card. Now at this point, you have played the Malefic Territory and the Paradox Gear from your hand, so you have 2 cards left in your hand, and Croco Dragon draws you a 3rd card. So the other cards that you want to have, you want to leave 2 cards in your hand so that you can discard for Croco Dragon Archithus, but as long as the last card is Malefic Selector, you activate Malefic Selector, you banish your Parallel Gear and your Red Eyes Black Dragon from your graveyard to add Malefic Paradigm Dragon and Malefic Stardust Dragon from your deck to your hand. Malefic Stardust Dragon banishes Stardust Dragon to special summon itself. Then you special summon Malefic Paradigm Dragon, and you activate its effect to send Malefic Truth Dragon from your deck to the graveyard. Remember, Malefic Truth Dragon's effect can special summon itself from the graveyard, and it doesn't have to be special summoned from the hand first because it's not an extra deck monster. So this just sets up your Malefic Truth Dragon for free, and make sure that you don't draw it later. Really, really good. And then you get to return Stardust Dragon that you banished to summon your Malefic Stardust Dragon from your banished zone to the extra deck. Then you get to special summon it. And at this point, you can then exceed your Malefic Stardust Dragon and your Stardust Dragon into Dingirsu, the Orchestra of the Evening Star. And most importantly, when Dingirsu, the Orchestra of the Evening Star is exceed summoned, you can then take the Malefic Parallel Gear that you banished to activate Malefic Selector and attach it as a 3rd material. You will have 3 materials on your Dingirsu Orchestra of the Evening Star, which is more than Orchestra ever gets. So your board is completely bulletproof, and we'll see that in these games. Now let's take a look at the replay. Okay, we are going first against Raging Pendulum. Our hand is perfect. So we activate Territory of Malice. We return Malefic Truth Dragon to our deck to activate Malefic Territory so that we can activate Malefic World, and then we summon our Paradox Gear, tribute it to special summon the Malefic Parallel Gear, and draw the Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon. Synchro both of those into our Archithus. Then we draw one card, and that card is our Malefic Paradigm Dragon, which is fantastic. Now we can activate Malefic Selector, banish 2 to add Stardust Dragon and Cyber End Dragon. Special summon our Stardust Dragon, special summon Paradigm, put Truth back, Xyz into Dingirsu. And attach extra material. Alright, so now on our field, we have a 4,000 defense point monster. We have a 3-mat Dingirsu to protect our cards from being destroyed 3 times. We have a pop by discarding 2 cards. And in our graveyard, we have Malefic Truth Dragon, so that if our Malefic Paradigm Dragon ever gets destroyed, we can pay half our life points to special summon a 5,000 attack or defense point monster immediately. Our opponent is going to activate Summoner's Art to grab their Dragon Pit Magician, and then they activate Dragon Pit Magician, and I immediately pop it with my Archithus. So Archithus can discard 2 cards from the hand to target 1 card on the field and destroy it as a quick effect. And as you see, this will completely mess up my opponent. He has no good cards left in his hand. So he has 2 cards left in his hand after he's activated his Noble Dragon Magician and his Wisdom Eye Magician. He had to activate these 2 cards just to get his skill off. So now he's going to put 2 cards from his deck into his extra deck to get 1 random card into his hand. Then he activates Mystical Space Typhoon because he has to get a low scale on the field, and he's going to use Wisdom Eye to get a high scale. So he destroys his own Noble Dragon Magician. Then he activates Performapal Camelump as a pendulum scale. Then he will activate his Wisdom Eye Magician to get another Dragon Pit from his deck, and at this point he only has 1 card left in his hand to pendulum summon with. So he brings out his Noble Dragon Magician and his Zephyros the Elite to special summon Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. At this point, he could special summon the Dragon Pit Magician from his extra deck with Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon and go into a rank 7, but he doesn't want to do that for some reason. He activates Zephyros the Elite, and he's going to return his Dragon Pit Magician to his hand to special summon it. Then he activates the Dragon Pit again, and then he activates Performapal Camelump's effect, which allows him to target his Meteor Burst Dragon, lower all my monsters by 800 defense points, and then his Meteor Burst Dragon gains piercing until end of turn, and then he times out. This turn took forever. There you go. Plenty of disruption, plenty of protection. My opponent was playing a tier 3 deck and had no idea how to deal with all of my options. He had a somewhat questionable hand, but he still couldn't manage to get through the power of triple Matt Dingirsu. So this is Malefics. It's really fun. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Sarafi, and I was thrilled to have you all with me.